What is up, gamers? And I am here today showcasing a brand new Duel Masters deck. What do we got today? Well, let's just show off our cool deck box. It's a bit of a hint actually, as you can see with the fire symbol. It has something to do with red cards. It is a classic Fire Nature Rush deck, which lives in the back of every control player's mind rent-free. Now the strategy behind this deck is about as simple as it gets. You basically want to summon out as many cheap monsters as you can as quickly as possible and kill your opponent as quickly as possible. And for the strengths of the deck, it is very easy to kill the other player by turn 4. As for weaknesses, if you don't draw a good opening hand or your opponent has good shield triggers, you can die pretty easily to any shield trigger that has a wide effect, such as Burst Shot, Searing Wave, Holy Awe, Blizzard of Spears. I know half of those are not shield triggers, but those still have wide effects that can absolutely cripple this deck. And any discard effect is also very bad for this deck, as we have no draw, which is one of our main weaknesses, and in exchange for that we just have all gas, no refuel. So let's get into the deck list itself now that I've explained the basic strengths and weaknesses. So starting the list off first, we've got Gonta, the Warrior Savage. Now he is level 2, 4,000 power. He's just excellent all around. He has a low cost and high power, so he's able to make a good impact on the game very early on. And next up is Deadly Fighter Braidclaw. Everyone knows him, everyone loves him. He's that classic 1,000 power. Deadly Fighter Braidclaw, he's a very effective and useful attacker. I love to play him on turn 1 as my opening move, and then I'll just follow up in hand with a Comet Missile to kill whatever blocker they have. Comet Missile is the only spell card that this deck runs. The most important part is that you can destroy any blocker with power 6,000 or less. Very essential to our strategy. And now another key player is Rikabu's Screwdriver, one of the best blocker removal on demand. Most important ability in the game though. You can still play him as an attacker if there's no need to be destroying any blockers. So not only is this card powerful and useful, it's also very versatile, which we like, because a lot of these decks can be very simple-minded and single-minded with their strategy, but this deck has a little bit of nuance to it, just a tiny bit though. Kook Pilon, a very fun little 2-drop. He is extremely weak, but his ability is that he cannot be attacked, which means your opponent has to deal with him in one of 2 ways, which is either blocking him or using an entire terror pit just to kill this little dude. Now, if we're playing the game correctly, activating our Comet Missiles, using our screwdrivers, hopefully there won't even be any blockers to stop them. So your opponent is just going to be sitting and sneezing at this little peep bird. And I wish there was a recolor of him that was green, because he does remind me of a certain someone, if you know what I mean. The most expensive card in the deck is Pyrofighter Magnus. I mean that in terms of level cost. Everything in this deck is actually pretty cheap budget-wise. Pyrofighter Magnus, what can I say about him? He's got haste, so he can attack immediately after you summon him. He has something that can be considered a drawback or a benefit, depending on how you look at it. Against a deck that plays a lot of discard, the returning to your hand ability is actually a very big drawback. But if you're playing against a deck that plays on-field removal, he can be really annoying to deal with. He won't stick around long enough to drink the damage from that. But at the same time, would you really waste a Terror Pit on a 3k that's just going to be summoned again? Very fun card, I like it a lot. So we've gone through all the fire cards, now we're going to finish things off with the nature section, which is a little smaller, but that's okay. First off, we got Hardy Captain Polygon. He's level 1, 2,000 power. At the end of any turn that he broke a shield, you have to bounce him back to the hand. This can be considered a downside, but I figured out a way to get around that. When it comes to your quintessential turn 1 plays, he's up there with good old Braidclaw. They're definitely a good duo that I like to see together. Next is Poison Mushroom. Now his ability is that when you put him into the battle zone, you can put a card from your hand into your mana zone. Now that might seem like a bit of a drawback, that might seem like a kick in the nuts to this deck. I think this is actually a very good strategy. It has a neat little interaction with another card, Sniper Mosquito. Now, what's the deal with this? So when Sniper Mosquito attacks, you have to return a card from your mana zone to your hand. You have Party Captain, you have him go back to your hand, then you play Poison Mushroom, put Hardy Captain into your mana zone, then have Sniper Mosquito attack, and you get to take Hardy Captain, or in fact, any creature card, or card in general. You could take Comet Missile if you wanted. You get to basically turn your mana zone into a revolving door. It lets this deck type get around its major weakness, which is that once you've played out almost all your creatures, you don't really have much of a hand. You're in top deck mode, as we pros call it, where you're just relying on the heart of the cards and whatever your draw is to win. So I like it a lot because it turns the mana zone into a secondary hand. It allows this deck to have a little more freedom with its card selection, because a lot of these rush decks pretty much live and die on how good their opening hand is, and being able to grab that Magnus on turn 3 is almost essential. But if you're able to chuck them into the mana zone and then get them back a turn or two later, it helps, because that is one of the things that can screw this deck over, is poor choices on what goes where. So this pair actually helps out a lot. They counteract one of the main deficiencies of the deck. They help it have an additional set of resources, and I like it a lot. It's a very fun thing. Now, most people, instead of Poisonous Mushroom, they would rather play Torcon or Crowwinger. I really hate Torcon. I think he's crap. I hate that his art looks like he's holding a turd. That's the main reason I hate him. But we'll finish things off with my last level 2 Beastman. So we got Quixotic Hero Swine Snout, or Quixotic Hero. I think he's based off Don Quixote. I don't know why people say he's Quixotic. Whatever. Anyway, this guy's ability is pretty sweet. Let's even zoom in on that. I'll show you how sweet it is. Oh yeah. Whenever another creature is put into the battle zone, this creature gets plus 3,000 power until the end of the turn. That doesn't just apply to us putting cards into the battle zone, which, as you can see, is pretty easy. That means he goes up to 7,000. That means this dude can kill Balmedius Dragon on his own if you just drop 2 little weenies next to him. And that's insane. And the thing this deck lacks, this power or consistency or having a good endgame threat, that takes care of that deficiency. Anyway, gamers, that was the deck list. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, pretty honest. I hope you guys liked that. Catch you gamers later.